Hello everyone, welcome to Hack It Easy with LJ. In today's video, we are going to look at the market view for 10th August 2026. We will cover 5 important markets: Nifty, Bank Nifty, Bitcoin, gold, and crude oil. Disclaimer: before we begin, please remember that this video is strictly for educational and informational purposes. I am not a SEBI-registered investment advisor or research analyst. Trading involves risk, so please do your own research before taking your any financial decision. Overall market view. Let's first look at the overall market view bias. For Nifty, the bias is mildly bullish. The major drivers are global risk sentiment and crude oil, and the market is expected to be mainly gap and level driven. For Bank Nifty, the view is neutral to bullish. Banking strength and bond yields will be important, and we could see a range breakout type of movement. For Bitcoin, the bias is mildly bullish, with major focus around the $65,000 resistance level. Softer US jobs data and interest rate expectations are also important factors. For crude oil, the view is volatile to bullish, mainly because of the risk surrounding the Strait of Hormuz. So this is a market where news can create sudden movements. And finally, gold or XAUUSD. The bias is bullish. Weak US jobs data and expectations regarding the Federal Reserve are the major factors, and the preferred approach is to look for buy on dips opportunities. Now let's go to the top international news. US inflation and Federal Reserve expectations. The first and probably one of the most important factors is US inflation and Federal Reserve expectations. If US inflation comes down, the Federal Reserve could become more dovish. A dovish Fed can be supportive for gold, Bitcoin, and equities, while the US dollar may come under pressure. On the other hand, if US inflation increases, the Federal Reserve could become more hawkish. A hawkish Fed can put pressure on gold, Bitcoin, and equities while supporting the US dollar. So, traders should closely monitor US inflation data and any changes in Federal Reserve expectations. The second news is the major The second major factor is the situation involving Iran and the Strait of Hormuz. Any escalation around the Strait of Hormuz could push crude oil prices higher. Higher crude prices can create pressure on Nifty and Bank Nifty. On the other hand, if there is de-escalation and the crude oil prices come down, that could provide support to Indian equities. So for Monday, crude oil traders need to keep a close eye on geopolitical headlines. The third news: US Treasury yields and the US dollar. The third factor is US Treasury yields and the US dollar. If US yields and the dollar both move higher, it can generally be negative for gold, Bitcoin, and emerging market equities. On the other hand, if US yields and the dollar move lower, that can generally support gold, Bitcoin, and Nifty. So these are two additional indicators worth monitoring alongside the individual charts. Now let us look at the support and resistance level. The support and resistance levels for Monday, 10th August 2026. For Nifty 50, Nifty's reference price is our analysis is around 24,571. The first support zone is 24,380 to 24,420. The second support is 24,200 to 24,280. On the upside, the first resistance zone is 24,620 to 24,680. The second resistance zone is 24,780 to 25,000. So the important level to watch is 24,680. If Nifty sustains above this level, the bullish setup can become stronger. If the Nifty fails to cross this resistance, traders should cautious and watch the support zones. For Bank Nifty, the reference price is 57,746. The first support is 57,500 to 57,600. The second support is 57,200 to 57,300. On the upside, the first resistance is 57,900 to 58,000. The second resistance zone is 58,100 to 58,500. The overall view is neutral to cautious. So traders should watch the 57,900 to 58,000 zone for a potential breakout. Coming to Bitcoin, Bitcoin is around $64,873 in our reference data. The first major support is $63,700. The second support zone is $62,150 to $62,630. On the upside, the first resistance zone is $65,350 to $65,570. The second resistance zone is 67,000 to 67,265 dollars. The key level here is 65,570 dollars. A sustained move above this level could strengthen the bullish setup. So for Bitcoin, traders should closely watch the $65,000 region. Now coming to crude oil for MCX, the reference price is 7,350 rupees. The first support zone is 7,200 to 7,250. The second support zone is 7,050 to 7,100. On the upside, the first resistance is 7,500 to 7,550. The second resistance zone is 7,700 to 7,800. The overall view is volatile and range bound because geopolitical news can create sudden movements in crude. Traders should be particularly careful with position sizing and stop losses. Now coming to XAUUSD or gold. Finally, let's look at gold. The reference price is around $4,342. The first support zone is 4,270 to 4,300. The second support zone is 4,220 to 4,240. On the upside, the first resistance zone is 4,360 to 4,380. The next resistance is around $4,400. The overall bias is bullish, but resistance is heavy. So traders should watch how price reacts around the 4,360 to 4,380 resistance zone rather than blindly chasing the market. So let's quickly summarize today's market. Nifty mild bullish, Bank Nifty neutral to cautious, Bitcoin mild bullish, important level is $65,570. Crude oil volatile and range bound. Watch 7,500 to 7,550 on the upside. Gold is bullish but resistance is heavy. Watch for 4,360 to $4,380. Remember, these levels are market analysis levels and not guaranteed buy or sell signals. Always wait for price confirmation and manage your risk properly. If you found this market analysis useful, please like the video, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next